this video is about. She stood NEAR the concert hall and a Millionaire SAT beside her. If this story touches your heart, please mention where you are watching from in the comments. Please like the video and share your thoughts in comments. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting a warm, golden glow that bathed the city in an ethereal light. Clara stood near the entrance of the concert hall, a world of music and emotion behind its grand facade. The air buzzed with anticipation, a palpable tension that thrummed in sync with the distant sounds of tuning instruments. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, her fingers nervously toying with the hem of her vintage, emerald green sundress, a piece she adored for its elegance and the way it flattered her figure. Clara had always been drawn to music. It was more than just melodies twisting through the air. It was a language of its own, an art that spoke to the deepest parts of her soul. Tonight's performance, a long-awaited symphony led by a world-renowned conductor, was an event she had circled in red on her calendar. Yet, standing outside, she felt a tremor of anxiety ripple through her. This would be the first time attending such an event alone since her recent move to the city. First time at the symphony, a deep voice broke through her reverie, startling her. Clara turned to find a man seated on a nearby stone bench, his expression warm and inviting. He was casually dressed but exuded an air of sophistication. Dark jeans paired with a tailored navy jacket, a crisp white shirt unbuttoned at the collar, and polished leather shoes that suggested both taste and wealth. His hair was tousled but stylish, and his striking blue eyes sparkled with mischief and charm. "Is it that obvious?" Clara replied, feeling a flush creep up her neck. "I suppose I'm a bit of a novice." "Novice or not, you're in for a treat." He smiled, the kind of smile that seemed to light up his entire face, revealing a hint of vulnerability behind his confident exterior. "I'm Adrian, by the way." "Clara." She extended a hand, an automatic gesture that felt oddly formal in the context. As their hands met briefly, a current surged between them, an electric connection that made Clara's pulse race. She withdrew her hand, almost sheepishly, and tucked a stray lock of hair behind her ear, avoiding his gaze for a moment. "Is this your first time in the city?" Adrian asked, leaning slightly forward, his curiosity genuine. "Not exactly. I moved here a few months ago for work. I'm still finding my footing." Clara's voice softened, revealing a hint of uncertainty. "But I've always wanted to experience the symphony live. It's been on my bucket list forever." "Ah, a dreamer." He chuckled, the sound rich and melodic. "What do you do?" "I'm an art curator," she replied, enthusiasm creeping into her tone. "I work with a small gallery downtown. We focus on contemporary pieces, emerging artists mostly." Adrian's brows lifted, intrigue dancing in his expression. "Sounds fascinating. Do you have a favorite artist?" Clara's heart swelled at the opportunity to share her passion. "There's this one artist, Lydia Chen. Her work captures human emotion in such a raw way. Each piece tells a story that resonates deeply. When I first saw her exhibit, I felt as if she had painted fragments of my own life." Adrian listened intently, nodding as she spoke with fervor. "It's amazing how art can reflect our innermost feelings. I believe every piece carries a part of its creator, don't you?" "Yes," Clara exclaimed, pleasantly surprised by his understanding. "It's like a conversation between the artist and the viewer." "Exactly." Adrian leaned back, folding his arms across his chest, his interest peaked. "You must be an excellent curator if you have such a keen insight into art. But tell me, what drew you to the symphony tonight?" Clara hesitated, the atmosphere suddenly charged with a weight of vulnerability. She could hear the distant chatter of people entering the concert hall, yet at that moment, it felt as though they were in a world of their own. "Honestly, I've been going through a lot lately," she confessed, her voice trembling slightly. "I thought immersing myself in music might help. It's like a balm for the soul, you know." Adrian's expression softened, his blue eyes searching hers as if trying to gauge the depth of her words. "I get that. Sometimes the best way to navigate our struggles is through art, whether it be music, painting, or even literature." He paused, considering her for a moment. "Would you like to join me for the concert? It's always more enjoyable with someone to share it with." Clara felt a rush of surprise at his invitation. She had intended to attend alone, but the idea of experiencing the music alongside him sparked an inexplicable thrill within her. There was something about Adrian that felt reassuring. Perhaps it was the warmth in his smile, or the way he listened, as if he truly cared about her thoughts. "I'd like that," she replied, a smile breaking across her face. "Thank you." "Great." He stood, extending his arm in a mock gesture of chivalry. "Shall we?" As they walked toward the entrance together, the air thickened with anticipation. Clara felt the flutter of excitement blossom in her chest. She caught glimpses of Adrian from the corner of her eye, his easy laughter, the way he engaged with those around him, and how he seemed to shine in the dimming light of the early evening. Inside the concert hall, they made their way past the luxurious velvet curtains and ornately decorated walls, the grandiosity of the venue amplifying the thrill in Clara's chest. The overwhelming scent of polished wood and fresh flowers enveloped them, and she inhaled deeply, feeling at once exhilarated and comforted. They found their seats near the front, and as the lights dimmed, a hush fell over the audience. Clara could feel the tension in the air, the collective breath of anticipation. She turned to Adrian, who was already watching her with an intensity that made her heart race. "Are you excited?" he whispered, his voice low, sending a shiver down her spine. "More than I can say," she breathed, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. The orchestra began to play, the music swirling around them like a tangible force. Clara closed her eyes, letting the sound wash over her. Each note resonated through her, loosening the knots of anxiety she had carried for weeks. She could feel Adrian beside her, his presence grounding yet electrifying. The chemistry between them crackled in the air, a silent acknowledgement that both frightened and exhilarated her. As the performance progressed, Clara stole glances at Adrian, captivated by the way he lost himself in the music. His expressions shifted with every crescendo and diminuendo, a reflection of the emotions that coursed through the hall. It felt as if they were weaving a tapestry of shared experiences, strangers bound by the universal language of art. After the final notes echoed into silence, the audience erupted into applause, but Clara's heart was still racing from the intensity of the evening. Adrian turned to her, his eyes alight with excitement. "What did you think?" "I think it's unlike anything I've ever experienced," she replied, her breath quickening. "It was breathtaking." "Just like you," he said softly, a hint of flirtation lacing his words, sending a thrill through her. Her cheeks flushed, and for a moment she fumbled for a response. You think so?" "Absolutely." His gaze held hers, unwavering, the connection between them deepening like the music that had just enveloped them. "You have this light about you, Clara. It draws people in." Clara looked away, a smile creeping onto her lips as she fought to keep her composure. "Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Kindness is easy when you're in the presence of someone so captivating." The sincerity in his voice wrapped around her, making her heart flutter. The moment felt suspended in time, a delicate balance of tension and possibility, and Clara couldn't help but wonder what else this night might hold. Would it be the beginning of something beautiful, or merely a fleeting moment between two souls navigating the vast world of art and music? Only time would tell. As the final echoes of applause faded, Clara found herself still entranced by the lingering vibrations of the symphony. The crowd began to disperse, yet she and Adrian remained seated, cocooned in their shared moment, the world around them blurring into a distant hum. Clara could still feel the warmth of his gaze on her, igniting a flutter of nerves in her stomach that she had long thought extinguished. "Shall we?" Adrian broke the spell, his voice smooth, almost a whisper as he stood and extended a hand to help her up. Clara took it, feeling the solidity of his grasp, warm and reassuring. She rose, suddenly aware of the way the fabric of her dress brushed against her skin, the way a light breeze stirred through the hall, carrying the scent of varnished wood and the soft perfume of nearby concert-goers. "Where to now?" she asked, trying to keep her tone casual, even though her heart raced at the prospect of spending more time with him. "How about a walk? I know a lovely little cafe nearby that serves the best espresso in the city. It's the perfect way to wind down after a night like this," Adrian suggested, his blue eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Clara bit her lip, the idea of wandering the softly lit streets with him sending a thrill through her. "That sounds wonderful," she replied, and they stepped into the cool night air together. As they moved away from the concert hall, Clara felt an electric charge between them, a chemistry that pulsed with each shared glance. The city was alive with a soft glow, street lamps casting pools of light that danced along the pavement. And while Clara had always enjoyed the energy of the city, tonight felt different. It felt as though the city itself was alive, celebrating their encounter. "So, tell me more about this gallery of yours," Adrian prompted, glancing at her with genuine curiosity as they strolled down the sidewalk. Clara's heart swelled at his interest. "Well, we showcase a lot of emerging artists, as I mentioned. I love discovering new talent, bringing their stories to the forefront," she said, her passion igniting. "Each exhibit feels like a new adventure. There's something incredibly fulfilling about connecting art with the right audience, seeing the way it can transform lives, even just for a moment." "I can only imagine," he said, nodding appreciatively. "It sounds like you're not just curating art but emotions. That's a rare gift." "Thank you," Clara said, warmth flooding her cheeks at his compliment. "It's what makes my job worthwhile. Art has this way of bridging gaps, you know. It can communicate feelings that words sometimes can't." "Absolutely. Just like music," Adrian added, his voice laced with contemplation. "The way the orchestra tonight conveyed everything from joy to sorrow, it's all part of the same tapestry." He looked at her, his gaze penetrating, as if they were both sharing a secret understanding. They approached a small cafe nestled on a corner, its charm accented by twinkling fairy lights strung above. The air was fragrant with roasted coffee and fresh pastries, an enticing invitation that made Clara's stomach rumble softly. "Welcome to my favorite spot," Adrian announced, gesturing grandly as they entered. The interior was cozy, with wooden tables and eclectic artwork adorning the walls. Perhaps the owner had taken a page from Clara's book. They settled into a small table by the window, and Clara noticed how Adrian leaned slightly forward, the way his presence seemed to command the space around them, yet remained utterly inviting. "What's your poison?" he asked, his tone playful. "I'm a simple girl," Clara replied, chuckling. "Just a cappuccino, please. It's hard to beat the classics." "Cappuccino it is." He waved down the barista, a cheerful young woman with a beaming smile, and placed their order. Once they were alone again, he leaned back, his hands steepled in front of him. "So Clara, I have to ask, what's a young woman like you doing in a bustling city like this all by yourself?" Her heart plummeted slightly at the question. People often ask that, and she sometimes felt like an imposter in this vibrant city. "I moved here for work, as I mentioned, but I guess it's more than that," she started, her voice softer. "I needed a change. I was in a tough place back home, Lost my job, lost touch with friends. I thought this city might offer a fresh start. I get that, Adrian said, his expression shifting to one of understanding. Sometimes we need to step out of our comfort zones to discover who we really are. Clara looked at him, searching his face for any hint of judgment, but found none. Instead, his gaze was steady, encouraging. "What about you?" she asked, curious about the man sitting across from her. "What brings a millionaire like you to a small cafe like this?" He laughed, a genuine sound that lit up his entire face. "Ah, now we're getting to the heart of it. I've spent too much time in boardrooms, and honestly, I prefer this. The chaos of business can be stifling sometimes," he admitted. "I invest in tech startups, but what I truly love is the thrill of creativity. I get much more satisfaction from supporting innovation than just lining my pockets." "Tech," Clara raised an eyebrow, impressed. "That's quite a leap from art." "True," he said before leaning closer, an infectious excitement in his tone. "But every innovation, every piece of technology has an element of artistry to it. It's about problem solving, but also about creating something that connects with people, much like art." Clara smiled, feeling a newfound admiration for him. It was refreshing to meet someone who could see the world through such a multifaceted lens. "You're right. There's a beauty in creating something that makes life easier or even more meaningful." Their drinks arrived, and as they sipped the rich, frothy concoctions, Clara felt the conversation flow naturally between them, as if they'd known each other far longer than an evening. The world outside the cafe continued its bustling dance, but within their little corner, a world unfurled, a world of shared dreams, ambitions, and vulnerabilities. "Can I ask you something?" Adrian's tone shifted slightly, sincerity threading his words. "Of course," Clara replied, her heart quickening. "What do you truly want, Clara? Beyond the gallery and art and the city, what's your biggest dream?" he asked, his blue eyes bright with curiosity. Clara hesitated, the question catching her off guard. It felt as if he were peeling back layers of her heart, exposing parts of her she hadn't explored in a long time. "I want to build a space where art and community meet. A place that empowers artists and gives back to the community," she finally admitted, her voice steady. "I want to curate experiences that inspire others, that encourage dialogue and connection." "That sounds incredible," Adrian replied, his gaze unwavering. "You have such vision, Clara. I'd love to see how you bring that to life." "Thank you," Clara said, her heart swelling with hope. "But it's a work in progress. I'm still figuring it all out." "Isn't that what life is about?" Adrian said, his voice warm. "Constantly evolving, learning, growing, it's a beautiful mess." Clara smiled, captivated by the way he spoke. The tension between them shifted, a silent acknowledgement of the connection that surged and ebbed like the music they had just experienced together. They both leaned back slightly, allowing the moment to breathe, each aware of the weight of unspoken words lingering in the air. The cafe buzzed around them, but within their little bubble, Clara felt a sense of intimacy that was both exhilarating and terrifying. She sensed a change in their dynamic, a shift from casual conversation to something deeper, charged with possibility. "Adrian," she began, her voice almost a whisper. Before she could finish, he reached across the table, his fingers brushing against hers, a spark igniting at the contact. "Do you believe in serendipity?" he asked, his voice low, eyes searching hers. "What do you mean?" Clara could barely form the words, her pulse quickening. "I mean, I believe that certain moments are destined to happen, like us meeting tonight. What are the odds?" His gaze was intense, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. "I hadn't thought about it that way," Clara admitted, her breath catching in her throat. "Maybe we were meant to cross paths in this chaotic world." His thumb traced a gentle circle on her knuckles, igniting heat that spread through her. Whatever happens, I want you to know that this moment is special, at least to me." Her heart raced at the implication in his words, the intensity of his gaze making her feel as if they were the only two people in the universe. "It's special to me too," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. Just then, the cafe door swung open, the clatter of footsteps and chatter flooding the intimate space once more. The moment shattered, the spell broken as the world reasserted itself around them. Clara felt the warmth of Adrian's hand slip away, the contact leaving her yearning for more. "Shall we?" he asked, his tone light yet laced with unspoken tension. "I don't want to keep you from the rest of the evening." Clara nodded, her heart still racing as she gathered her coat, a touch of reluctance warming her cheeks. The moment had felt so charged, so intimate, like a promise hanging in the air. As they stepped out into the cool night, the city pulsed around them, bright lights flickering against the dark canvas of the sky. The streets were alive with a symphony of voices, laughter, and the distant thrum of music wafting from nearby bars and clubs. "Where to now?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. There was a buoyancy in Adrian's step that made her want to stay close, to explore the city together. "Let's wander for a bit," he suggested, his voice laced with an easy confidence. "There's something magical about discovering a city at night, don't you think? The energy shifts, and you see a different side of it." "I completely agree," Clara replied, feeling the warmth of his enthusiasm seep into her bones. "There's a certain romance in the air, like anything is possible." They strolled down the street, side by side, the distance between them closing with every step. Clara caught glances of Adrian from the corner of her eye, his casual confidence wrapped in a layer of intrigue. He spoke animatedly about the city's hidden gems, the tucked-away galleries, the underground music venues that thrived with unfiltered talent, and the cozy bars where artists mingled and shared their stories. "Have you found any spots that resonate with you since you moved here?" he asked, his tone curious, as if he genuinely wanted to uncover her experiences. "I've been to a few galleries, but I'm still finding my way," Clara admitted, her thoughts drifting back to the overwhelming feeling of being new in a vast, unfamiliar city. "I did find a little bookstore cafe where local poets hold readings. There's something so inviting about it, like it's a safe haven for creativity." "That sounds perfect," Adrian replied, glancing sideways at her with a kind smile. "You should definitely take me there sometime. I'd love to hear some local poetry. It's such an intimate way to connect with art." Clara felt a blush creep up her neck at the suggestion, her heart fluttering at the thought of sharing her favorite place with him. "I'd love that." She paused, her heart tightening with a flicker of vulnerability. There's something so powerful about poetry. It captures raw emotion in ways other forms of art sometimes can't. "Very true," he agreed, his voice softening. "Just like a single note can convey a world of feelings, words can evoke images and emotions that linger long after they're read." As they walked, Clara found herself sharing snippets of her life, the way she had grown up in a small town, her dreams of art and expression blossoming from a young age. Adrian listened intently, his blue eyes sparkling with interest, and she began to feel a profound sense of connection building between them, an unspoken understanding that transcended mere words. "What about you, Adrian? What was your childhood like?" she asked, genuinely curious about the man beside her. He hesitated for a moment, and for the first time she saw a flicker of something more complex cross his features. "I grew up in a different world, one filled with expectations and responsibilities," he began, his tone shifting to something more reflective. "My father was a businessman, and I was always expected to follow in his footsteps. It felt like living in a shadow, you know." Clara nodded, sensing the weight of his past. "That sounds like a lot to carry. Did you feel pressure to conform? Every day, Adrian admitted, running a hand through his hair, his expression more vulnerable than she had seen before. But I found solace in creativity. I started coding when I was young and discovered that technology could be an art form. That realization changed everything for me. It felt like I was carving my own path, even if it led me back to business in a way that I hadn't anticipated. "That's beautiful," Clara said softly, her heart warming at the thought of him finding his way through the pressures of his upbringing. "It must have been liberating to discover that." "It was," he agreed, his gaze steady on hers. The air between them thickened, charged with shared understanding. "But sometimes I still feel that tug of expectation, a reminder of the life I could have led. I think that's why I'm drawn to creativity as an outlet. It allows me to escape, to explore. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you fully embraced that side of yourself?" Clara asked, her voice gentle yet probing. Adrian studied her for a moment, as if weighing his thoughts. "I'd be lying if I said I hadn't fantasized about giving it all up and running away to create something entirely different, to live without the constraints of financial success." He shook his head, amusement tinged with frustration dancing in his expression. "But the world is messy. I don't think anyone truly escapes their reality." "Maybe not," Clara replied thoughtfully, "but maybe that's where art comes in. It can help us make sense of the mess, transform it into something beautiful." Adrian's gaze softened, a hint of admiration lighting up his features. "You have a way of putting things into perspective, Clara. I appreciate that." They continued to walk, the city unfolding around them, the sounds of laughter and distant music mingling with the soft patter of their footsteps on the pavement. The air was crisp, laden with the sense of street food and the lingering aroma of coffee and baked goods. "Let's stop here," Adrian said suddenly, pausing beside a small park glowing under the soft light of lanterns. A few benches were scattered around, and Clara could see a couple sitting close together, their laughter bright against the backdrop of the night. "This looks lovely," she said, feeling a flutter of excitement at the prospect of pausing and sharing this moment with him. As they settled onto a nearby bench, Clara turned to face him, the glow of the lanterns illuminating his features. "Do you often take walks like this?" she asked, curious. "Only when I find someone worth walking with," he replied, a teasing glint in his eyes. There was something in his tone that sent her heart racing, a blend of flirtation and sincerity that made her feel both cherished and desired. "Is that so?" Clara raised an eyebrow, a playful smile tugging at her lips as she leaned slightly closer. "What is it about me that makes me worth walking with?" He leaned back, crossing his arms in a mock show of contemplation. "Let's see. You have an infectious passion for art, a perceptive mind, and an effortless way of drawing people in." The intensity of his gaze captured her, making her pulse quicken. "But honestly, it's that spark of vulnerability I see in you. It's refreshing." Clara felt a rush of warmth at his words, the sincerity behind them crashing against her heart like waves. "Thank you," she whispered, the weight of their conversation settling around them, a cocoon woven from understanding and attraction. "That means a lot to me." "Good," he said, his smile disarming. "It's true." Moments passed as they shared a comfortable silence, the sounds of the city fading into the background. Clara could feel Adrian's presence next to her, warm and inviting, each breath deepening the connection they had forged. After a pause, Adrian turned slightly, leaning in closer. "Clara, I know it's only been a few hours, but I can't help but feel there's something special between us. Do you sense it too?" Her breath caught in her throat, heart racing at his words. "I do," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's like we're dancing around something deeper." "Exactly," he said, his tone earnest. "I feel like we've stumbled upon something rare, and I don't want it to slip away." Clara's heart raced at the intensity in his gaze, the unspoken possibilities swirling in the air between them. "What do you want to do about it?" she asked, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions within her. "I want to explore it. I want to get to know you," he said, his sincerity washing over her like a warm tide. "I want to share more moments like this, raw, unguarded, and beautiful." Clara could feel the pulse of the world around them fade into a distant hum as she met his gaze, an unspoken promise hanging thick in the air. "Then let's explore," she whispered, her heart pounding with anticipation as she took his hand, intertwining her fingers with his, an act that felt both thrilling and inevitable. As they sat there, hand in hand, the city spun on, bright and full of life. But in that moment, it was just the two of them, discovering a new world crafted from shared dreams and uncharted territories of the heart. And Clara knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning of something breathtakingly beautiful. The night unfolded like a well-composed symphony, each moment layered with a depth that Clara had never experienced before. The cool air wrapped around her, but the warmth radiating from Adrian's hand was intoxicating, a lifeline in this new world they had begun to explore together. They settled into a rhythm, walking through the softly lit park, their steps echoing the quiet heartbeat of the city around them. "Tell me something more about you," Adrian said, his tone light yet sincere as they wandered beneath the soft glow of the lanterns. "What do you do when you're not curating art or dreaming about community spaces?" Clara hesitated, her mind racing with the myriad of interests that filled her life. "Well, I love cooking," she finally said, her eyes lighting up. "It's almost like an art form for me. Each ingredient is a color, and I love playing with flavors to create something beautiful and delicious, of course." Adrian chuckled, a warm sound that made her smile widen. "So, you're a culinary artist too. I must say I'm intrigued." He leaned closer, his interest palpable. "What's your signature dish?" Clara pondered, a playful smile tugging at her lips. "I'd say my homemade lasagna. It's a family recipe, layered with love and a bit of chaos, just like life. I like to think it's comforting, yet a little unpredictable, just as it should be." "Now I'm hungry," he teased, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "You'll have to invite me over for a taste sometime." Clara felt her cheeks flush at the thought of cooking for him, the intimacy of such a gesture sending her heart racing. "Maybe I will," she replied, a playful challenge in her voice. "But only if you promise to bring dessert." "Deal," he shot back, his grin infectious. "I make a killer tiramisu." They continued their light banter, the conversation flowing as naturally as the cool night breeze that danced around them. Clara felt an undeniable ease with Adrian, like they were two artists painting a shared canvas, each stroke revealing more about who they were beneath the surface. "Is cooking something you've always enjoyed?" he asked, genuine curiosity evident in his tone. "Yes, since I was a child. My grandmother was amazing in the kitchen. I spent summers with her, learning the family recipes. It was our time together and I cherished every moment," Clara reminisced, her voice softening at the memory. "She taught me that cooking is about so much more than just food. It's about bringing people together, creating memories." "I love that," Adrian said, nodding in appreciation. "It's magical how food can connect us just like art and music." "Exactly," Clara exclaimed, thrilled that he understood her so completely. "It's all interconnected conversations, flavors, colors. They all blend to create an experience that lingers long after the last bite or note." "Speaking of experiences," Adrian said, a glimmer of intrigue in his eyes, "if you could curate an event anywhere in the world, what would it be?" Clara's mind raced at the possibilities, the thought electrifying her imagination. "Wow, that's a big question." She paused, considering her answer. I think I'd love to curate an art festival in a park, maybe somewhere like Central Park. It would feature immersive installations, live performances, and workshops for all ages, something that invites participation. That sounds incredible, Adrian replied, his eyes reflecting a spark of admiration. You really have a knack for envisioning things that connect people. It's inspiring. Thank you, Clara said, warmth spreading through her at his words. But I think it's what we all crave, a sense of belonging and creativity. We all want to be seen and heard. Absolutely, he agreed, his expression serious yet filled with understanding. We all have stories, and art is a powerful vehicle for sharing them. Their conversation flowed deeper, the intimacy between them magnifying with each exchanged word. Clara found herself revealing more of her thoughts, her fears, and her aspirations, more than she had ever anticipated sharing with someone she had just met. Adrian listened intently, his gaze unwavering, as if he were drawing the very essence of her being into the space between them. "Do you ever get scared?" he asked suddenly, his voice dropping to a whisper as they paused by a small pond shimmering under the moonlight. Scared of the future, of taking risks. Her heart caught in her throat, the vulnerability of his question resonating deeply within her. "All the time," she admitted, her breath hitching slightly. "I think that's part of being human, right? It's terrifying to put yourself out there and hope for the best. I've had moments where I felt lost, unsure of what to do next." "Me too," he said, a soft sincerity in his voice. "When you're constantly on a path that others expect you to follow, deviating from the norm can feel daunting. It's like you're standing at the edge of a cliff, afraid to leap." She met his gaze, her heart racing at the intensity behind his words. "And yet, sometimes those leaps are the most rewarding," she whispered, feeling a connection that transcended the physical world around them. "Exactly," Adrian replied, stepping a fraction closer. "It's in those moments of fear that we discover who we really are." Just then, a soft breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming flowers, mingling with the cool night air. They both fell silent, the world around them fading to a whisper as they stood there, a breath away from something significant. Clara's heart raced as she felt the pull of his gaze, the unspoken tension heightening the air. "Adrian," she began, her voice faltering, unsure of how to articulate the emotions swirling within her. "Yes," he urged gently, his eyes locked onto hers with a mix of curiosity and anticipation. Clara hesitated, grappling with the weight of her own feelings. "I feel like we're standing on the edge of something exciting but also scary." Adrian nodded slowly, his expression serious but open. "I feel it too, and that's okay. Sometimes the scariest paths lead to the most beautiful destinations." In that moment, the world around them faded into a blur. The sound of laughter in the distance, the rustling of leaves, the shimmering reflections in the pond, everything became secondary to the connection building between them. "What if we took that leap?" Clara asked, her heart pounding as she took a small step closer, drawn in by the energy between them. "What if we explored this, whatever this is?" Adrian's smile was slow but genuine, lighting up his features. I'd like that very much." He stepped forward, closing the distance completely, their hands still entwined, fingers interlaced as if they were meant to fit together. Clara felt the heat radiating off him, a warmth that seeped into her, wrapping her in a comforting embrace. The vulnerability that had hung in the air between them now ignited into a spark of possibility that set her heart racing. "Let's not rush it," Adrian said softly, his voice low and enticing. "But let's not shy away from it either." She nodded, her breath catching as their eyes held for what felt like an eternity. "Agreed. I want to savor this," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Good," he replied, a glimmer in his eyes, "because I think we have something worth exploring." With that unspoken agreement, they stood in the stillness of the park, the air thick with anticipation. Clara felt a rush of emotions swirl within her: excitement, fear, hope, each one a thread weaving them closer together. As they lingered in that sacred space, surrounded by the soft glow of lanterns, Clara knew this moment was the beginning of something profound, an adventure that would challenge them, inspire them, and ultimately lead them to a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. And so, under the soft moonlight, in a world that had suddenly transformed into something breathtakingly beautiful, Clara and Adrian ventured into the unknown, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead.